Hello everyone, this is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. And today what I want to do is I want to go over the cards that I shared yesterday at the live stream with Sammy Thunder, with Dom from Staven Sports, and from, of course, Adam from Vintage Sanctuary. So we had a live stream last night. It was on the For Collectors channel. And I'll put a link on that below so you guys can check it out. But it was a really great conversation, really awesome topic. The topic that that Sammy brought up was to go through and pick your favorite card from each decade. So that's what we did. And you know, they didn't have any cards from the 1800s, so I kind of started it off. And really the way that we did it was we kind of picked like our favorite set from that decade, and then showed our favorite card from that set or from that decade. So I'm going to start it off with, you know, of course, baseball cards started back in really the 1880s. There were some cards in the 1870s, but there were more postcard type things, you know, team photos and stuff. So the earliest cards were the well, kind of, you know, the earliest main set was the Old Judge, 1887, and those had sepia kind of photos, so they were cool. But my favorite card, my favorite set from the 1800s, and I'm just gonna go ahead and focus all the way down here. So my favorite card from the 1800s, from the 1880s, I'm sorry, from the 1880s, is the King Kelly, the 1888 Goodwin Champions. And that set was inserted in, those cards were in Old Judge and Gypsy Queen cigarettes. And to me, this is my favorite set. As you guys know, if you've been watching my channel, it's my favorite set from the 1880s. And this is my favorite card from that set. And I think, personally, this is one of the most beautiful cards in the entire hobby, I think, in all of you know, baseball cards, in my opinion. And that's the back. And the back has the checklist of all the players and stuff in there. So that is the first card I'm going to share. Is the first from the 1880s. My favorite card from my favorite set from the 1880s. So I'm going to move now to the 1890s. And in the 1890s, you know, there weren't many sets out there during that time, but really the best set, or the most famous set, was the 1895 N300. And that is the Mayo. They're called the Mayo cut plugs. And this is the 1895 Buck Ewing. This card, again, they were inserted, these particular ones were not in cigarette packs. They were inserted in tobacco, you know, just loose tobacco, chewing tobacco, let's call that. It was chewing and smoking. So it was loose tobacco that they would either chew on it or they would smoke it. So you see it there, Mayo cut plug for chewing and smoking. And this is the Buck Ewing card. And these cards all have that black border, which are extremely tough to find without any chipping. This particular copy, it says authentic altered because it was there. They put some marker right above there. They put some marker there to try to conceal some of the chipping. But other than that, I've looked it all over, and that's the plate. That's where they put the thing. So anyway, this is the Buck Ewing Hall of Famer Mayo cut plug. And the back of these cards are really cool because they're all just black. They're literally all black cardboard. So it's black on the back, just plain black. And on the front, they've got that beautiful black border with the beautiful sepia tone picture. And this one is just, you know, you can see his shirt and everything, how they used to wear the uniforms with the tie and the laces along the shirt. You can see the same thing here with the tie and the laces on the shirt. And that's kind of how they wore it. So this is a drawing, and this is an actual picture. That's why I like this, because it actually has pictures, and they're a lot clearer, a lot better than some of the old judge cards. So those are my two from the 1800s, 1880s, 1890s. So now we're gonna move into the 1900s, and this will go from the first decade from 1900 to 1910, and or 1909. And I'm gonna go with the, of course, the T206s are just the beautiful cards from that era. And one of my favorite cards from the T206 is the Tris Speaker. I just love the Tris Speaker with the pose that he has batting, and this is his true rookie card. This is his first card and his true rookie card. And he's got the Boston shirt there with the beautiful cap. You know, this card's graded in a 2. It's got some creases, but it's Tris Speaker, so you see the crease right there. It's got a crease runner right there, another little crease there. But, and it's got some tobacco stains, and that gives it a little character, because this is the polar bear back, and this was inside of, again, loose tobacco in a tin. This was not in the actual pack of cigarettes. The polar bear is scrap tobacco, and you could see some of the staining on that from the actual tobacco. It was in the tobacco tin, just shoved into the tobacco tin. But I love that, the dark blue back on that. I love the polar bear back, so that's the reason why I chose this one. And because it's Tris Speaker, which I consider one of the top 10 players, probably one of the top 10 players of all time. If you look at his stats, you'll see why. So T206s, my favorite set from that era, and I chose the Tris Speaker on that. So the next decade is the from 1910 to 1919, and that era I chose the 1911, the T205s, 1911, and these are the gold borders, and this is the tie cob. It's authentic. It has a little trim on the top. And what I love about this set, and this is my favorite set from this decade, 1910 to 1919, is because not just the artwork on these, the gold border is just so fancy, you know, and you know, you can see it's got the ball and the glove and stuff there, and the bats. It's got the little tiger on there with the logo with the tigers. And this gold border is so susceptible to the chipping. It chips everywhere. I mean, just by touching it. And apparently somebody tried to trim the top there to remove some of it, to make it cleaner, and it ended up getting authentic. So it is slightly short, but for me, that's fine. It's a beautiful example, a beautiful portrait of Ty Cobb. And the back, one of the reasons I love these cards is because the back has the stats. So it has this little description. These are the first set, the first cards back in the early 1900s that actually had a description in the back of the player and some stats. And this is the Piedmont version. There's different versions of it, of these, depending what cigarettes these were in. So these were definitely inserted in cigarettes, and these were inserted in the various brands, you know, from the Piedmont, there's Sweet Copperell, there's Honest Long Cut. There's a whole bunch of different, few different, similar to the T206, but not as many, and not the kind of rarity that you would get from some of the tougher backs. So that's the 1910 to 1919. So now we're going to get into the 1920s. Let me go a little bit further here. Get them all, keep them all in the picture here. So my favorite set from the 1920s And 1920s is a kind of a crazy era because a lot of the cards from the 1920s were strip cards, you know, versus in the late 1916, 17. But in the 1920s, I mean, it was a lot of strip cards. So one of the few sets that was actually a big, large set, one of the largest set in the 1920s was the 1922 American Caramel. And that is, this is the Babe Ruth. And these American Caramel have a beautiful ornate border, and it has an actual photo of Babe or of the player also. And of course it has their name and their you know, outfield, and the New York Americans is what they were called back then. So this is the American Caramel, 1922 American Caramel. This is the Babe Ruth card. And the other thing I like about these is the back. This was a 240 card set, which in those days was huge, you know. I mean, not like the T206, but really they didn't produce that many sets this big. So it says here, you see it's a series of 240 pictures, 15 players on each team. And what I like about it is it has the entire roster on there. You know, it has a New York Americans, which is what they were called, and they were the Yankees. That was their nickname, really, in those days. And you see the manager, Miller Huggins, and all the other players. And you know, I shared this yesterday, and it was awesome because Adam had the Bob Musial card, Dutch Musial. So he had that one as one of the Yankee cards. And it has 15 cards per player. And it has all of the teams. So this is a full, you know, kind of team sets, 15 cards for each team. And that's what I love about this one, because it's you can collect the entire roster of the Yankees, and the beautiful ornate border and the actual picture is something that you don't see too much in the 1920s cards. And that's why I chose this one as my favorite set from the 1920s and my favorite card of that set from the 1920s. So moving on to the 1930s. The 1930s is an era that really kicked off a lot of different cards. You know, Gowdy started producing a lot of cards back in the day, and I mean, from the famous 33 Gowdy set, 34 Gowdies, you have the Heads Up, which Adam had a beautiful Joe DiMaggio with the scribbles, and that's a card I dream of having one day. But there are a lot of nice classic sets in the 1930s. But my choice was the 1934. And because of the 1934 Lou Gehrig card. This is my favorite Lou Gehrig card. Every time I look at this card, it just makes me smile, because that beautiful smile that Lou has on there on this card, and the yellow background, and how it says, you know, Lou Gehrig says here, you know, that's just awesome. And in the back, it also says that. So these were from the Gowdy Big League chewing gum. And you can see here, tells you a little bit about it. And what I like it is it talks about, in the back, you know, they ask the player to tell you a little bit about themselves, and that's Lou saying that he loves the game of baseball, and so on. And and it also has that facsimile autograph of Lou Gehrig. So that's why I like this card. As in the 1930s, yeah, the 33 Gowdies are beautiful, and the Ruths are very, very nice. I'd love to have one of those. But I really think that if you look at the cards from the 30s, I think this particular 34 Gowdy Gehrig is just a beautiful card, and my favorite from the decade of the 30s. That blue cap and the blue bottom there is just, and he also got another picture here of him. It's just one of these cards that is just iconic to me, and one of my favorite cards in my collection. So from the 1930s, I'm gonna go with the 1934 Lou Gehrig. So moving on to the 1950s. 1950s is, or 1940s, I'm sorry, 1940s. Again, some gorgeous cards in the 40s. I mean, you have the play balls, you have the leaf cards, 49 Leafs. You have the Bowman cards, 48, 49 Bowmans, and a few other issues that are really, really beautiful cards. But to me, you know, I got to stick with the 49 Leaf. And as far as 49 Leaf, the nicest card I have that I love, I mean, I don't have the Jackie, or I would have shown probably that one, but I will show this Joe DiMaggio. And I think this is my favorite card from the 40s, and it's the 49 Leaf Joe DiMaggio. And this one is in a beautiful, excellent 5. And to me, why I chose this card, and this is one of the cards I chose to keep from the 49 Leaf cards. I sold many of my 49 Leafs, is because this is Joe D. He was one of the legends of the Yankees, and I'm a Yankee fan. And, you know, it's the #1 card in the set. So it's a real tough card to come by in great condition. So it's a #1 card. It talks a little bit about him there, and it talks about his 56 consecutive games hit streak. And again, this is, you know, even though this is copyright 1948, if you look at the back, it tells you he smashed 39 home runs and 190 hits for a .320 average. Well, that's his stats from 1948. So if those are his statistics from 1948, this card came out in 1949, and there's many proof that it did come out in 1949. So this is the 49 Leaf, Joe DiMaggio. My favorite card from the 1940s, because it's a Yankee, and because I just love the 49 Leaf set. It's just a classic set, and this is a classic card from that set, the #1 card from the set. Moving on to the 1950s. 1950s gets extremely difficult, because 1950s, in my opinion, had some of the best sets ever produced. You know, from the 1952 set to the 1953 Bowman set, the 53 Topps, the 56 is another one of my favorites, with that mantle being just an incredible mantle, 56 Topps. I mean, you can go on and on and on. I've got the 59 set. I love those 59s too. But overall, I'd have to choose, as far as one of my favorites, I have to go with the 53 Topps, because there's a lot of Hall of Famers in this set. It's a classic set. Yeah, the 52, you know, may be more expensive, but I just love the look and the way that they put together these cards. And the 53 mantle is my favorite mantle. I really love this pose. I love how it has the Yankee logo there, the background. You can see the signage in the back. He's got a great picture of the Mick there. You know, just a beautiful, beautiful picture. Just a beautiful card of Mickey Mantle. And to me, it's my favorite mantle, with that red on the bottom. This has very little chipping. And this card is a little, it's perfectly centered side to side, a little bit, you know, top to bottom. But that's okay, because I like the bottom a little bit bigger, because it just gives you more red. And that red is just gorgeous how it just stands right out there. So as far as the 1950s, that decade, I'm gonna stick with my 53 Topps Mickey Mantle as my favorite card from the 1950s. And that was probably a real tough choice. It was a real tough choice for me. So many beautiful cards in that era, in the 50s. Moving on to the 60s. Again, another era that is very, very difficult to choose from. So many nice sets from the 60. I love the 62 set, as you know. The 62 set happens to be my favorite set from that era. But looking at the cards from 62, there isn't a classic, true classic card that I think would warrant being my favorite for the 1960s. So looking at all of the sets there, the card I'm going to show is not from my favorite set, but it happens to be one of the players that I like, and one of the players that is probably the best catcher in all of baseball, and that's Johnny Bench. And I got to go with the 69 Bench card, because that is just such a classic pose. You could see that's a beautiful vintage card with that rookie cup. With him, you know, he doesn't have a cap or a mask on, so you could see his face clearly there. And I love that. You know, you could just see his uniform, you know, how he's crouching there, you know, with that old-fashioned glove. So to me, you know, I love this a lot better than his rookie card. And I think, you know, just tough choice. But in my opinion, because it's Johnny Bench, because he's such a great player, and because it's such a beautiful card, with the sign, you can see the signs in the background of the fence. I mean, you know, just a beautiful card of a young Johnny Bench. So in my opinion, I'm gonna choose this card, the 69 Bench, as my favorite card of the 60s. Tough choices, you may disagree, and I don't blame you because there's just so many nice cards out there. But you know, we were doing the live stream, you know, initially we were told just pick a card, pick a set that you love and go from there. And that's kind of what I did. I looked at the 69s and that bench just stood out. So in the last decade that we talked about was 1970. And I'll make this quick because, you know, my favorite card, my favorite set is the 1971. That is my favorite set from the 70s. And why I chose this card is because the 71 set was the first set that they really came out with action poses, awesome action shots like this. And this one, you know, me as a set builder, back in the days when you put your set together, this was the first action shot in the set. It's card number 5. So when you put them in order and you put them in the binder, this card is on the first page, right there, and it just pops. It stands out so much above the rest of the cards. And there's some beautiful action poses also in the 70s, in the 71. You know, the Nolan Ryan was one I considered. You know, and the 72's got some classic cards. And you also have the 71, the Clemente. It's another one I love. And you can go through 72s and 73s. 75 is a beautiful set. I looked through that, but you know, you got the Brent and the Young, but to me, this is the most beautiful card from the 70s. And it's got his facsimile autograph on there. And this is the first year that they actually put pictures on the back of the players. And I pulled this card from a pack back in 1971. I still have it as is. So, guys, that is it for my choices of the top cards from each decade, all the way from the 1880s through the 1970s. What do you guys think? Do you guys have any choices? What are your favorites? You know, shoot me some comments there and let me know your thoughts on this. I think it's a great idea by Sammy. I'd like to see some other guys do a video like this. So this may be a opportunity for you guys to share your wide range of collecting years or of your collection and show us what you got, all the way from the oldest to some of the newer ones, and which are the ones that you love the most. So thanks for watching, guys. Truly, truly appreciate it. Made a long video. I'll put a link below to the live stream. It was awesome. It was so much fun. So check it out, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. This is Orlando from Collector's Dream. Catch you on the next one.